thank you all again for coming. We're going to have a panel now. I'm going to hand you over to the boss, Lucia Ongay, who's the co-founder and president of the Gerety Awards, and we're going to have a nice general conversation about creativity and all things nice and good in it. And thank you. There you go. There you go, boss.
So today we are here with very interesting and important people. I will try to pronounce their names well. We'll have a little chat around German creativity and what they think about it. So we have Kathrin, Chief Strategy Officer and co-owner of Wirz BBDO. We have Rowan El-Goweiny, copywriter in INNOCEAN worldwide. We have Isabel Gabor, creative director at Grabarz and partner and co-founder at Girls Club. And Felix Strueve, executive producer and co-founder of Saint Berlin, that are very nice to host us today too. So thank you all for saying yes after a drinking to have a serious chat about German creativity. So let's start with a question that I was told that was very hard. How would you define German creativity, and do you think there is something particular that makes it immediately recognizable? And it's not a Q&A, so you can discuss between yourselves.
Can the non-German start?
Yes, of course. Please go ahead.
I mean, it's a very tough question, because I think, I don't know, if I look at an Egyptian ad or American or British or Brazil, you can really point out right away that this is where it's from. But with Germany, I feel like puns, first of all. Second of all, some sort of a quirky kind of humor. It's not applied to everything, but if you look at Hornbach, for example, like this is the most iconic German campaign of all times. And I think there's something about humor, but very specific humor, not like your average American humor or British humor. But it's still not it, but I think it's one of many things.
Yeah, I also think it's a very hard question, because really, until you asked us, I never really thought about it. And it's funny
it's always the first time for everything.
Because I'm German, but I don't work in Germany right now. I work in Switzerland. She's Swiss, she's Egyptian, but they work in Germany. So it's very interesting what happens right now. My feeling is that German creativity is very strategic, maybe. Yeah. I'm a strategic person, and when I look at it, I see where it's coming from, and I see what it's trying to do. And it's not... and that makes it makes sense to me. And I'm really curious about what you say, but to me it makes a lot of sense. And it's not like it comes from somewhere and you don't know what it's supposed to do, like the gorilla with a chocolate.
That's
you know?
American.
That would not really happen in Germany, I guess. But I mean, maybe it's different for other people, but that wouldn't really happen here, because it's not logical. So, but still great, and logical things can be great as well and awesome. But my feeling is that German creativity is it makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, I would say same. Also, it's not that weird. I mean, if you watch like UK or US ad, it's kind of really weird sometimes, and you're like, okay, what happens here?
Why?
Why? And also it's like often super funny and humorous. So in Germany, I think it's more logical and it's more strategic, and it's more like, oh, this fits to the brand, and it's like really on point of the brand. Yeah, I think like.
And why do we think this happens?
German engineering.
Maybe because that's how German clients buy.
But don't you think that this strategic point you mentioned is also a good thing? Because I think German creativity developed really well, actually. And I think I totally agree that it comes down to this strategic way of working. But I think the work ethic really worked out well, and this is essential for it, because when it comes to creativity, it's not just one person alone. It's a great team, you know. You have the copywriter, you have the strategic, you have a creative, and also the leading, the creative leading is important. And I think all these persons have a higher, I would say, self-esteem, or are more motivated, because the work ethic changed a bit. It's still strategic, but I think more creative, actually, because everyone is in his department or its department creative.
Her department.
Her department. First mistake. Now you hate me. Yeah.
And this year there was a very successful campaign. Germany won its first ever film Grand Prix at a big advertising festival with the campaign The Wish for Penny, which was done by Service Plan Germany, that was also awarded Independent Agency of the Year at this year's Gerety Awards. And what are your thoughts about this campaign? I guess you've seen it. Why do you think it was so successful?
I mean, it's an amazing movie. Like, it's so well done, it's so well written, it's amazingly executed, and it's just like heartwarming. And I think emotions are so important for good advertising. I kind of have sometimes a little, when I first saw the movie, I was like, oh, it's so amazing, but I didn't know why it's for Penny. So for me, it was always a question, is it ad or is it an amazing short movie? So I was kind of torn, like, because you watch it and you're like, so well done. And then you think about it and you're like, oh, it could have been Edeka or Rewe or any other brand. And that's a little downer for me sometimes, when you don't see like the brand in the advertising. But then on the other side, it's so well done. It's like for Christmas, and Christmas has other rules. So I was like a little bit, mixed feelings about it. But it's amazingly done. So
I totally agree. It's amazingly done, and also the phases of his youth is so perfectly fast and amazingly done that it never gets, let's say, boring. You know, because I think our time of actually looking at things is getting shorter. You know, commercials getting shorter, and also if you have a pre-roll, you click on skip it. But this one, you really wanted to see it until the end, because it was so heartwarming, it was so amazing. So I'm amazed that Penny agreed to do something like this. Although I totally agree. I mean, you haven't seen any products from them, or it wasn't direct advertising their products. But still, it's an amazing campaign. I'm really happy that this is happening right now in Germany.
And I think it also has to do with the cultural context, because that's just what was just happening to everyone. So everyone could relate to that. And I think what's also important, or what could be important, is that there's a discussion right now also in Germany that during the pandemic, the government didn't do enough for children and the youth, and that only, the vulnerable, the obviously vulnerable, were protected, like the old people, and like the children were excluded from school and from kindergarten. And they, for example, my son, he was 6 at the time, and he couldn't finish his kindergarten because it was just closed down. And when he entered school, he had to wear a mask for almost 2 years. So when he was in 3rd grade, he saw his teachers for the first time without mask. And this is something that the government just didn't realize, I think, that what they've done to this generation. And like 18 years old, who couldn't have a party for their 18th birthday, which is the big birthday in Germany, and so on. And I think this all comes together in this cultural moment. And I think this is what also touched people.
And to add to actually your point, which is actually very important, is that in the pool of all these COVID ads, they were actually asking us all to be selfless. It's like, stay home, care for the others, care for your mom, care for your neighbor, wash your hands. It was a lot of like restrictions and orders, and it was a time that everybody had to listen for obvious reasons. But what about me? What about my feelings? I'm caring for my neighbor upstairs, the 80-year-old lady, of course, and my mom that I can't see for a year and a half. But what about me? And we all had to kind of put all our feelings, like suppress all our feelings for the greater good, which was an obvious reason, of course. But this ad was the one ad that was like, kind of be selfish, bring up what you're missing and talk about it and own it. And that's why I think everybody resonated with it, whether you're a mom, whether you're the kid. I remember having calls with my friends and I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't have COVID in like uni years. Because like that's the actual worst part of uni, going to classes, like online classes. So I think in the grand scheme of things, it was important to like really point at the wound and not tiptoe around it and be like, oh, we're gonna hug again and we're gonna love again and things are gonna be great. Love the nurses, love the doctors, but who loves me? And I think that's why it was really impactful.
And what are the most significant changes happening in German production or advertising at the moment, do you think?
I think it gets more and more important to have like a work environment that is equal, that has diversity, that is like also like not so toxic like before. So sorry to say, but like when I went to advertising like 12 years ago, it was so normal to work over hours till 3 a.m. No one cared. It was normal that as a woman you didn't have the chance to get like a career, and if with your first baby it's over. So it was like it was so hard for a lot of people, like, and now it changed so much because there is a lot of people missing in advertising. A lot of agencies need new workers and they don't come because it's not that attractive like before, and the new generations are asking for totally different things that I asked when I started in advertising. So I think that's the biggest change. Like everyone has now a D&Y team. Everyone has now like work on equality or empowerment, and I hope everyone does. Not everyone is, but I hope it changes. And also like the diversity in advertising. Like in my opinion, like clients do want more like social cases. They want to like show how they are in social. And they want to see this more in advertising and do this authentically. You need an advertising agency that has like the same beliefs, like the same worth than a client. So I think that's something that changes rapidly, and I love it. I hope it will go on.
Okay.
You had something to say about diversity.
I mean, 100% yes. Tap, like, retweet, share, for sure. And I think, I mean, it's kind of it's happening all over the world, and everybody's kind of a bit annoyed with this cancel culture, or I have to be woke, or I have to be diverse. And for them, it's words that are triggering them. But no one is really understanding or realizing actually that diversity makes the work better. If you talk to these clients or if you talk to these brands, they want to talk numbers, they want to talk effects, they don't care about the fluffy things in between. And to go to them and tell them, listen, if we're all the same, we're doing the same things, nothing is extra, our brains are wired in the same way, we're not bringing anything new to the table. But then you have people, like diverse people coming in with complete different backgrounds, with complete different songs they grew up on, or complete different upbringings, like parents or whatever, and coming in and all together bringing your little melting pot of a mix. And that brings new creative work that works and that affects people. And now, and Germany is always trying to work on a global level and not be on this, like German market. They always want to strive for better. And this is how you talk to the world. Like I work now in Berlin in an agency that is owned by a Korean client, ran by Brazilians with 40 different nationalities in the agency. You literally hear all different languages, and we all chose to live in Germany and Berlin for a very specific reason. And I think that is utmost ideal of what German creativity is going to look like in the future. It's just Berlin. You walk around Berlin, and this is kind of, that should be reflected in the agencies as well, and not just be like, oh, it's Berlin, it's not Germany. No, Berlin is Germany. And yeah.
Can I add something from a production side? Because you just stated that it's sometimes figures driven, and so you have to have stress and less time. And I mean, from a production side, I also wish that we would involve more the director and the production team. This is not actually not the fault of the agencies. Don't get me wrong. It's just because there's so much stress. You know, sometimes you have a deadline, a time where it says like in 3 weeks we should produce. But I wish it would be nice to have more time to actually work on a DI, to actually work on the idea, to get the opinion of the director, to get the opinion of the production, because the director is really important in this thing to give creative input. And also here, diversity and female directors are amazingly, and they coming more and more significant, or are significant right now, but it's important to get their input. It would be nice to have a bigger exchange, you know. But this needs more time. This needs also in the pre-production so much more time, which is sometimes really tough.
But I also think that the more you work together, and we just talked about it before the panel, that some agencies still work in a, you know, Staffelübergabe. Like strategy is doing the strategy for 3 months, and then it's handing over to creatives, and then they have no clue what to do with this and start new, but because they can't give feedback because time is already over and stuff. I think diversity also comes to working together more cooperatively with all the different departments. So at the place where I work right now, I'm very, very lucky that strategy and creatives, we develop the platforms together, and we do all those things together, and you don't even have those faces anymore because it just doesn't make sense. And you said it's taking more time, but my experience is that it's much more efficient, you know, because people working on it for 3 months or 3 weeks or 2 weeks even, and then getting feedback from another department and then starting from scratch doesn't make any sense. So the more diverse also the teams department-wise work together, the better the work is and the more efficient the process is my experience. So I'm not quite sure if it even does take that longer if you involve everyone, maybe from an earlier point.
I mean, I totally agree. Also that you bring in more and more departments, because they are all so important. The lighting is important, the cast is important, everything, the props, everything is important. So it's also important to bring in the production, not only the director, also the experience of the production. But the thing is, in general, it's like you have like a triple bid and a DI, and I mean, let's be serious. You give your best with writing the DI, but still, it could be so much more better, because you don't know if it's really happening. So you're not spending like a week on it, you know. But then, and from the time you get the approval to the real shooting date, it's a short period of time, and I really would wish that the stage would be earlier, already integrated or involved in the process where the concept is written, you know.
Can I add one more point, actually?
Yes.
Something that you mentioned about also like directors and involving more directors, whether it's female directors or more diverse people. And just to go back to the point where I was saying that diversity makes the work better, it's by hiring like international people or diverse people that you get exposed to their list of directors, and then you're like, oh, then you get to know different kinds of photographers, directors, models, etc. And it's It's no longer about ticking a box and just hiring someone because, there's a box to check, there's a quota that I have to fill, there's a woman that needs to be a director. And we're not saying let's bring anyone just because we want to be represented. These women are incredible, talented women, and they just deserve the stage. And with that diversity comes exposure to more talents and more women and more DOPs and directors, etc. So just to conclude that point.
100% agree.
I think you more or less answered my next two questions, which were what are the biggest challenges for the future and your hopes within the German production and advertising landscape in the next years?
I really hope that what she said about diversity, about working together, about bringing new talents, and also for me it's really important to see the whole, because we often just talk about how a team is built up, how an agency is built up, but we also need to see how a set is built up, not to have white people doing makeup for a POC and then doesn't have the color. I saw it, so bad moment in life, but it's we need to see it from the start to the bottom. We need to see it from the briefing to the execution. We need to see diversity and we need to live diversity. And now it's a big movement that we have a women's quota in advertising, in a few agencies, which is amazing, but that's the start. We are starting at the very beginning of to be diverse, to be equal, and it needs a few years to have something that we can call a diverse agency living. Because also, we are super privileged when we work in advertising. To have to study, to go to advertising school is so expensive. We are privileged people still in advertising agencies, mostly from the same families, the same Gesellschaftsschicht. So
Background.
Yeah, background. So it's really not that diverse. Not even with genders, with ages. We have people from 20 to 35, maybe 40, but after this, search for it. We are not diverse at all. And we are talking about diversity, but it needs so many years, it needs so much work, and it really needs to fight for it, that we have the diversity we need. Because as you said, the best ad you can do, the best creativity is to have a lot of brains together who all think different, who all have different backgrounds, different ages, different generations, and if you bring this all together, we have the best thing, and we are not nearly at this point in Germany, if you take a look in German advertising agencies. And that's for me, I think the biggest challenge for next years, and the things I hope for the most, that this changes.
Yeah, 100%. But also, it's also convincing them. Right now we're pulling the fight, so it's the women, and we have. I can speak on behalf of the three of us here. Very, very dominant, voice, very heavy voices and outspoken. But not all women are like that, and it's not fair to just expect women to climb the ladder their way up and fight. And I fight. I am opinionated, and I will say no, and I will put my foot down, and I do that for sure. But I cannot expect all women to. We're not all the same. But unfortunately, with the toxic environments, if you don't have that in your personality, I wasn't gonna get as far as I've gone without that kind of trait. And it's a privilege, and it's something that I look around, I don't know what it feels like to be shy, but I know that other people have it in them. And then you look at other teams or other women or other people in the industry who are less loud, who are more put together, and it's obviously the system that kind of made them that way. And unfortunately, they don't go far, but it's not their fault. They don't have a safe space to get there. They don't feel confident enough because the system has been telling them for years and years that you're not going to make it that far, or you're not good enough, or whatever, all the things that we've already heard. And I think it's crucial as a challenge is to get the men to get on our side and to amplify these voices, and to also understand that you're not hiring a woman because your boss told you have to. You're hiring a woman because you know she's as much capable, if not better.
And to add to that, my hopes would be that being a mom in advertising, which was not, I would hope that in the future it gets more easy for everyone. Because when I remember when I came back, or I thought about coming back from maternity leave, there was no leader in strategy, not in a leadership position in strategy, a woman with a child. I didn't see that. And I was really wondering, in Germany you can stay home for 1 year. And I was wondering for this whole year, how am I going to do this? How am I coming back? Can I come back even? Do they still want me to come back? And things like that, because I didn't see it. And I think it's super, super important to just set an example and just do it and show what's possible. And I can just say from my own experience, when I came back, I didn't see it. And I was doubting myself. And I thought maybe I have to leave the industry, which I love. I love doing this. And I've never done something else. And I don't want to do anything else ever. But I wasn't sure if it's still for me, because I didn't see it anywhere. And I think it's really, really important to just do it. And I think if you're determined and if you want something and if you have people who support you, which I was lucky enough to have, it's super, super important to walk the walk and to show what's possible. Because I think, yeah, if you really want it, you can do it, and we all need to support everyone. And I think that's important for our industry to be able to have a family and to still love advertising.
And we're still talking about mothers and not fathers, which at the end of the day is the same thing. But of course, it's the mothers that are worrying, and
It's different.
yeah,
It is.
it's still different. And that is, again, a summary of everything we've been saying. It's parents with the same kid, yet one takes the fall.
I want to add also, like, it's for us and for everyone, it's like so important to flatten the way for everyone that comes after us. So for men, for women, for everyone else, we went the way and we made it. So it's on us to flatten the way for everyone else that comes behind us and to help them raise, because that happens not too much and it's so important to do.
First of all, I totally agree with what you said, because in production it's exactly the same thing. We need more motivation, more security, acceptance, and this leads to self-esteem and to better work, and I think leads also to better creativity. But the question was challenges in the future. I have to come back to one really boring topic, which will bore you all, but it's money. We're facing higher costs in all departments. I mean, there's a big difference how you produce. It's not like you have a simple setup and give a little more money and then you get like a better film. It's like separated, you know. If you want a high quality setup, a high quality production, it's way more expensive because you need a bigger team, you need bigger equipment, bigger pre-production and whatnot. I think the challenge is to convince the client that it is necessary and important that good production and a good work environment does cost money, and that it's important, and it should be well valued, you know. Because sometimes, I mean, you've all seen it, there are also performance-driven advertisements which are really cheap, and well, it's harder to work with this, and it's more important to embrace a change here in the work environment. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us your thought. We have a lot of things to think about, I guess. And for your information, if you want to have a look at the winners for Gerety this year, we announced them a couple of weeks ago. And we will be having an executive jury session next year in Germany again. So I invite you all to have a look at that and also to enter your great campaigns, which are not necessarily, as Joe said, the empowering campaigns, or tampon campaigns, like I call them. So thank you so much, and now we can have drinks and have fun. Thank you.
Thank you.